All right. Welcome everybody to Car Con Carne without a car or carne. Uh, I am Stubby and I am guest hosting today. Thank you, James Van Alsdale, for giving me the opportunity to talk about something that is very dear to my heart. Today we're going to be talking about Songs from a Scene. Songs from a Scene had a couple components. One of them was a compilation CD that came out in 2000,
One.
and then I was followed with a decade of shows of two shows, a two-show event that was hosted a couple different places and was headlined by a band that I and or me and Adam were in called Lucky Boys Confusion, and we had three new bands every year, trying to let people play these bigger venues, try to let these new bands play these new venues, these bigger venues that they may not have had a chance to play, otherwise. And a lot of great bands came out of that whole Songs from Scene event, and it was a really big moment for us. It was something we look forward to every year. So today we do have a bunch of people with us. We have Adam Krier here from Lucky Boys Confusion and AM Taxi. He was with me for all of this, the whole decade. I played every single show that I played for Songs from a Scene with me side by side. We have Steve Crock, who is a singer and guitar player of Swizzle Tree, another band that was on the first year, and he was responsible for starting the compilation. Pat Gilroy, was in who will get into this a little later, but was in a multiple multiple bands that played songs from a scene. And Pat and I are very good friends. We've been in a couple of bands together ourselves here, and he is also responsible for starting the compilation and the idea and the title with Steve Crock. And Sean McDonough, who was the booking promoter booker for the event for almost all of it, even though the venue switched a couple times, um, which is a really, really cool thing. But before we get started here and we get everybody talking, I wanted to thank our sponsors. Uh, and today's sponsor uh, is CNH Financial Services. As business owners open back up to serve their communities, they're faced with a lot of challenges as they navigate through the new normal brought on by the coronavirus. CNH Financial Services is here to help. CNH offers a variety of products that range from traditional merchant accounts to a zero-cost payment processing solution, which eliminates expense associated with accepting Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express as a form of customer payment. CNH Financial Services eTap solution is easy to set up for your business for online ordering and curbside pickup. CNH also offers cost-effective commercial lending programs to help you get your business the money it needs to make it through these unprecedented times. To learn more, contact CNH Financial Services at 855-600-2437. Again, that's 855-600-2437, or go to www.chfs.us. All right, let's get going here. We're going to have a not so surprise guest joining us later. But some people are just too busy to join on time. That being said, let's get going here. So, Songs from a Scene. When I first heard about Songs from a Scene, it was a phone call that I got from my brother, actually, who said that Steve wants to talk to me about something that he's putting together. I was on the road with Adam and Lucky Boys Confusion, and I'm just going to let you guys take it from here. So, guys, the name, where did it start? What were you guys thinking when this was all going on? And just tell us a little bit about the story of how this all started and how you got Adam and I included in with LBC too.
Pat, you
Well,
want to jump in or me?
sure. I mean, right around this time was when Sean was actually programming Sunday nights at Metro, where it was always local. And at the same time, the Cubby Bear was having local shows. So pretty much like me, Steve, Augie from The Dog and Everything, Ramsey from Penny and the Loafers, every Sunday night we would like meet up at Steve's house that was behind the McDonald's that's now a hotel. And we would like bounce between shows, drink, have fun, do whatever. And it kind of became just like a weekly thing where people from all these local bands would hang out at Steve's and talk about like, what could we do with the scene? So Steve, I don't know.
I just remember the major thing we wanted it to be and to do was to have more suburban type crew of bands get together to be a little more competitive in the city by all of us joining forces. And I remember that was kind of the way we pitched it to everybody.
That's cool. I didn't know. I kind of knew that, but I wasn't sure exactly how it happened. I know that the thing is that like at this point in time, LBC had been like a little bit removed from what was going on. Not totally, but it would have been about a year and a half that we'd been in and out of Chicago. So it was cool to see everybody and get this phone call that you guys were doing this. A few more questions. Who came up with the name?
Me and or Pat, I guess, right?
I think it was you, Steve. I'm pretty sure.
You want to throw it my way, that's fine.
That's cool. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about that was cool. That's how it started. But let's talk about the actual compilation CD that really started this all. You know, I'll be very, very, there it is. And while I'm got the microphone here, if you have questions, please go ahead, chat them in. We'll try to answer any questions that you have about songs from the scene or anything about, if you want to ask about Swizzle Tree or anything, any of Pat's bands, Sean's different things that he's done, booking House of Blues in Metro Chicago. And Adam, if you have any questions for him, please go ahead. We'll try to answer them most we can. But let's get back to the CD. So, you know, we had how many bands were on there? 10?
7 bands.
7 bands, but 7 bands with 2 songs each, correct?
2 songs each, yeah. And we
minus us.
The thing we did to keep it all cohesive too was to record it at Rax Tracks.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We all had like a built-in relationship, pretty much based on the Lucky Boys relationship with the Rax Tracks. So
sure,
we kind of presented to them as like, here's an opportunity. Like, well, we said like we're gonna pay you back for all this money, but I don't know if that ever happened. But we paid them back in promotion, and you know, I mean, the marketing they received from just having every other band in the western suburbs being like, oh my God, this sounds so good. Where do we record our songs? So we went to Rick and we're like, we got this awesome idea. We're gonna have all these bands do 2 songs, and it's gonna be this great CD. We're gonna sell out the Metro. It's gonna be amazing. And it pretty much went pretty smooth. He kind of divided up which producers would do which bands and which songs. And it was like Taran Yan, Chris Barnes, Josh Shapira. Am I naming all the people right?
Yeah, you are. Hey, Adam, what did we used to call Chris? I can't remember. Bauer Power. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. That's not even that clever, but I just remember we called him something. And anyway. So let's okay. And while we're here, let's talk about the bands that were on there. We had, of course, we had Swizzle Tree, which Steve was a part of. Tom, you're sideways.
We had Swizzle Tree. Close enough.
I mean that you're sideways. No, I already made that joke. Sorry.
Retro Morning.
Mm-hmm.
The Dog and Everything. Penny and the Loafers. Plain White Tees.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I missing?
Backdrop.
Backdrop.
Boom.
Boom.
There you go. And the funny thing about it is, I'm still friends with like a couple members of every one of those bands still. Or in some cases, every single member of those bands, you know?
Yo, count me out, dude. Count me out of that.
Oh, dude, I wasn't including you anyway. I have cool friends.
Okay, good.
He's talking about Rotondo.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, no, I was talking about Dave and Tatanka. But so anyway, oh, hey, Sarang just wrote in, my brother Sarang, who is the lead singer of Swizzle Tree, just wrote in and said, everyone's so modest. Steve originally gave credit to Pat Gilroy for naming it. So, okay, there we go. Okay, So that's cool. So those bands, like before we get moving on from that, because I do have somewhere to go with this, but like I want to talk about that scene that we had in the western suburbs. So I remember, so the way that my band started with is that Adam had a band and I had a band, and when we broke up, we collectively got together, and instead of doing two, we could have done our own separate bands. We just said, hey, let's try this and see how it goes. Obviously, we're still together after 23 years. Yeah, 23 years. And it worked out well. But along the way, we heard from Pat, because he was in a band called Down 37. And they were doing they were doing some shows, and you hit us up, and then about the split compilation. Steve and Sarang and Swizzle were friends from Downers Grove. We played shows at YMCA shows together. The Plain White Tees started being part of our group because we were just in the same area and playing shows together. And then Plain White Tees brought in Backdrop and the rest of that, like that Villa Park, Elmhurst scene. And we just kind of like that Western suburb scene just kind of came together. So it was so you guys coming together and doing this Songs from a Scene idea was really cool. But even if we would have done that compilation CD and whatnot, it wouldn't have gotten done if Mr. McDonough, Sean McDonough here, that's here, that was hosting those Sunday night shows. So James Van Osdale, who's a normal host of this show, and Sean McDonough, I have to say, without bias, even though I am, were the most important pieces as far as the Chicago industry was concerned to help the Western suburbs bands. We had such a block from Chicago bands. We just weren't cool. Like, oh, kids from the suburbs. I remember when LBC was busting in kids from the suburbs, instead of thinking it was a cool idea or like a smart idea, we just got shit on by Chicago bands. And but Sean and James didn't care, and they still backed us up because all of our bands, that group of 8 bands, including LBC, was doing something, and you gave us a shot. So Sean, thank you first of all for that. I know I've told you privately, but publicly I want to say thank you for giving us a chance to like just play. And after that we did our thing. But I would love to hear from you. I'm gonna get into what happened after that with the decade of shows, but this original idea, if you could please talk about when Pat and Steve brought you the idea of the compilation and the show for that, and then we'll get into the other stuff after that.
Well, yeah, it just seemed like a no-brainer, honestly, at that point, because you guys, LBC, had already been playing the club for quite a while and obviously selling it out already. If anything, you guys were probably one of the first local bands that would be able to sell out as fast as you did. And the idea of you guys just starting here, just to talk a little more about the LBC, but when you guys kicked that off and you first show booking there and bringing kids on the buses, like you said, that seemed insane to us. It was like, that's crazy. Are people really going to do that? Are people really going to, because like, of course, the bands in the city, they didn't do that. Nobody did that. And you guys were so hungry, and you knew you had fans. You knew they would come out, and you did it, and you organized it. And you were actually one of the first bands. If you both, Adam will know this as well. I mean, you guys, the first shows for you guys before we get to the rest of these bands here, which are all great. And but you guys, we would start off by putting together bills. You guys, hey, why don't you guys play with this band and this band and this band? And it got to the point where it's like 700, 800, 900 people, 1,000 people. And then at that point, I come up with ideas for bands. You guys, we already got a bunch of bands that we want to play with. And you guys were one of the first bands that was like, all right, here's your date. Who you guys want? And that was literally one of the first bands that we were more hands off on the packaging of the bill.
I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of knew that because we used to go whenever I was in the city. I'd grab lunch with you. But like like later, this is like 6 years later. But my thing was, so Adam and I used to play Riley's Rock House, and I know like it was a small thing, and even back in the day, like it was a small club in Aurora, but there was a band that we played with named Simple Simon that played the Aurora club. We opened for them one night. They got a Metro show and couldn't pull out of the show or something like that. Something happened and they screwed us over. But we were so used to that at that point we drew everyone. Adam, you remember what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. But the coolest thing was they took it and go, we are going to get you on our Metro show. Thank you. You brought everybody and we got paid all this money and you got paid $400, something like that, or even less than, I'm sure. And they fought and fought and fought. And I don't know if it was you or Chris before you, or I don't remember, but like whoever it was like, I don't know this band and I don't blame you. Like, they're like, whatever. They got us on the bill. And that left something in my head and in Adam's head, I'm sure. I don't want to speak for you, Adam, but like that when we got the shot, when we got the chance, we had to do something, right? We had to give other bands that we thought were doing cool stuff a shot too. And thank you for being so open to it. Anyway, please go on.
It was a great, I'm sorry, spoke too soon, but it worked. And one of the great things about that, all those bands that were on the CD and the compilation, I can't think of any of them that didn't go on to headlining their own shows at some point. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I mean, it really showed there was a cohesiveness to the scene and everybody working together and everybody working hard. It just reminds me of, a lot of packages now where certain agents that I work with now that like they'll have the headliner come out, whether it's, like a lot of the punk and screamo and emo bands, like, be like Falling in Reverse, like, and then the next year, everybody who was opening for those guys, right, is all headlining. And that's exactly, I think, what happened when you guys did that. It brought a whole new slew of great bands, and the bands were actually good. And that was the great part, because they did grow and they all wound up playing multiple times. It wasn't just on those nights. It wasn't just like, somebody doing somebody a favor and everybody forgetting about them, all those bands grew into something great.
It was pretty cool. It was really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And on that same thing, I wanted to bring in Adam and talk about when I remember we were on the bus tour, the only bus tour that we did. And I got the call from I could be skewed your memory. My memory is amazing before touring. After touring, I don't know why, but I can't remember a lot of stuff. But we got the call, and Elektra, who we were signed to at the time, would not allow us to be on this compilation. And it was you actually that came up with the idea. So if you want to talk about, I don't know if you remember. If you don't remember, I'll go ahead and say it. But it was your idea. So of how we can sneak our way onto the compilation.
Oh yeah, what I remember was prior to the bus tour. So
yeah, it might have been before. Sorry.
Did this thing come out in like May of 2001, like April or May of 2001? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And that's when the show was, right?
Yeah.
The Metro. And I think we were already signed at that point, and we couldn't contribute a track. I don't know how we snuck around it, but I knew what we did. It was a live song recorded at the Metro from about 4 months before that. Maybe it was 5 months before that came out. One to the Right acoustic. Was it unlisted on the compilation CD?
It was listed.
It was listed. We got listed.
I'm looking at.
It's
we fought to list it.
Right, because we were worried about the label getting pissed off or something like that, I think.
Yep. So
but I'm glad, even though it wasn't recorded at Rax like all the other songs, it was recorded at Metro, so it tied in with the things,
Right. No, right. And I remember you. So sorry, I blended two stories together. I blended the next thing I'm going to talk about when we decided excited on the tour bus with how we got onto this. So yeah, I remember that. And then your idea was like, hey, why don't we approach them with, this song's already on the record that they own. Why don't we just put this out again? And they let it go, which was cool. So, and before I move on to the actual shows, I wanted to talk to Tom too. So Tom, at this time, you guys were, everybody knew it. Like it was like you guys in Swizzle Street were the bands that were, the bands that were drawing the most outside of, or I might be wrong, or Dog and Everything. I know that Close Enough was starting. Like I think you guys were about a year or so in. Yeah, whatever. What's that?
I don't know. I'm on my phone, so I can only see 4 people at a time. So I just have to keep like flipping.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hey, bye.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Tom.
How
are you?
I'm only here. I'm only here because I heard Adam was going to be here. By the
way. And you know what's really funny? That makes a lot of sense in so many different ways that we can get into a little later.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like, weird. It's weird, Pat. Remember Super Happy Fun Club when Tom wouldn't come to our shows, but he'd go to AM Taxi shows? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I do actually. I do remember that.
That's not anything new. So yeah, man, cool. But Tom, so do you have anything to add for the compilation CD?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just throw my history lesson here.
Actually, so, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you because
gosh.
I'm going to actually give you a compliment. This is probably the only compliment I'm going to give you. But the song that you have on there for Cell Phone Number is probably the best bridge you have ever written. So I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love that. I love it.
You quoted it to me today.
I did.
In our text thread.
I did. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I think we lost Adam.
All right, guys, I gotta go.
Or maybe your comment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
Cool.
So my
go ahead, Tom.
my quick little history lesson of the scene. Okay, so and this goes, I would imagine, to Sean because of the Metro connection. But in high school, basically, I lived at the Metro. Right, there was New Music Tuesdays every Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw Weezer at the Metro on the Blue album. I saw No Doubt on Tragic Kingdom. Like every awesome and important artist came through the Metro. And Steve, this goes out to you here. There was one night where we went to go see Size 14 at the Metro.
Oh, geez, yeah, I remember those.
Oh yeah,
I was there.
And there was a band, we couldn't believe it because there was a fucking local band opening called Swizzle Tree. And these guys were like awesome, and it was like, wow, they're from Downers Grove. Like, no way, we're from Lombard. Like, it was like, because our dream was to like play the Metro, and so seeing these like local dudes on the Metro stage, it was like unreal to us. And then so we talked to some of you guys after the show, and you guys were playing like the next week at some Downers Grove VFW or something, and so the Plain White Tees all went to go see Swizzle Tree at this Downers Grove VFW, and we got there early, and there was some fucking crazy ass band with this Indian singer with the blonde streak and all these kids going ape shit, and we're like, who the fuck is this band? Like, and it was Lucky Boys, and that was just our introduction, I think, to this moment of like, okay, like cool, like we had this little band, but that was like the first moment of like, okay, like we can do this. Like we see the crowd, like this is possible. There's something happening here. There's something bubbling up. And so we broed down with you guys, Stubby, that night, met you guys and hung out with Swizzle Tree. And I think like in those super early days, you remember it was like, yeah, we got you guys to come play the Lombard VFW or something, we were just exchanging shows on a very local suburban level. Before any of us, well, aside from Swizzle Tree, we're actually playing places like Metro and Fireside and stuff like that. So that's kind of a fun little tie-in to like that.
Yeah,
that had to be
to the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Like Steve, was that one of your guys' first? Had to be one of your first Metro shows.
I've been
right?
sitting here waiting to
It was
jump
his
in.
first Metro show.
I have to put it on the record since Sean's here. Sean, thank you so much for our first Metro show at Size 14. But that band was awesome. It was like it was a New Music Tuesday. I remember Q101 was promoting it. And I remember at our band practice, if you fucked up, you had to throw $1 in the band fund for any pre-Metro fuck-ups before the show. But
awesome.
that was awesome. That was like the biggest goal of ours was to play the Metro and to get that show with such a cool band at the time that fit us perfectly, that had a single popping on the radio. It was just perfect. It was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, well, that was like a thing we all came up with, because it was the Q101 New Music Tuesday night. It was something we at the Metro worked with Q101. They welcomed every night. That same Tuesday night was the first night bands like Kay's Choice played, Muse played.
Yep.
You can go on and on with all the bands that played on that New Music Tuesday and it was presented by Q101. So that was something we did.
That was everything for us,
so,
man.
I got to thank James as well for that, because he was.
I was just gonna say, out of all the shows that he's not, like I would have 4 songs from a scene. If I wasn't co-hosting his show, he would have been one of the people that would have been I would have asked to be a guest.
Absolutely, be a guest on his own show.
And, I don't care if we're kissing his ass right now, but Local 101 and what you were doing, like I said, again, Local 101 and what you were doing at the Metro changed our lives, man. It changed our lives.
Yeah.
Like, it was.
I used to harass Sean all the time. I'd be sitting in my dorm room, calling him up, being like, "Hey, give us a show,
Yeah.
every week."
Well, let's be honest. This whole CD was put together just to get a Metro show.
Yep.
Hey, well,
it works.
I just want to pause for a second too. That yes, we it worked. I loved all the bands and everybody was good. But I was really lucky working at Metro and having the ability to do that because Joe Shanahan completely supported local and emerging artists and loved every bit of it. And if it wasn't for Joe and for Metro, I wouldn't have had the ability to do that. And
Sure.
So I just want to say, it wasn't the bubble. It wasn't just me. It was a whole staff of people, and everybody was into music, and
you.
It was great.
All you,
I was gonna say, man, I'm gonna be like, I'm sorry, man, but I didn't get any love from Metro until you started.
Well,
and I got no love from Metro after you left. So I don't know, man. I love Joe though. Joe's cool. Whatever. But we don't need to get it. It's all positive.
I'm just saying, I was lucky.
Yeah. Just keeping it positive.
I love being
but I just want to give you props, and I just thank you. Before we get into anything else, I do want to say, hey, some people are writing in, so let's talk to them real quick. Watching on Facebook Live, Adam says, watching on Facebook Live, this is awesome hearing your story. Keep crushing it. Look at that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Who is that? Jeremy Glanis, Jason,
this is backstage at the
Augie.
first Songs from a Scene.
and Augie.
Augie, Jason, and Jeremy.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
There's a little toady in the background there.
Yeah, there is. Good eye. I'm reading comments, guys. Sorry, 1 second. Let's
Right on.
Adam, not this Adam, but another Adam.
TJ Diebold was the clown for Swizzle Tree.
Jeez. Okay. All right. Steve, hold on. I want to see a few more, but let me just read some comments because I'm going to keep on getting distracted.
You weren't supposed to look.
Oh, whatever. Adam watching on Facebook Live says, this is awesome hearing your story. Keep crushing it. Thank you. David Fuller says, so much talent in one online box. Awesome. Thank you. JC, nice shout out to the Simons. Always will remember the Simple Simon. Roseanne, hey, that we, I think all of us know, except Sean. Best scene in some of the best years of my life. Awesome. Thank you. Jacqueline, nostalgia is real right now. Awesome. Thank you guys for the compliments. If you have any questions, please let us know. But as we're doing this, I wanted to move forward here. So we had the compilation CD, which was awesome. And then this is how I remember it. And I have a pretty clear memory of this part of the situation that happened. I was on the phone with our managers, and he said, with our managers, I can't remember if it was both of them or just one of them. And we were on the bus tour with River City High, Riddlin Kids, Something Corporate, and Bad Ronald. And we had to figure out what we were going to do when we got home. What show we were going to do. And I said, hey, listen, I remember thinking like the LBC was so lucky to have what we had. And all of our friends at home were put together this compilation, and it was such a cool thing. And even then I already knew that this was going to be something that I was going to keep going with, but if I could, but I was like, all right, I want to do something. I want to do 2 nights in 3 bands that may or may not have been able to do this on their own. The first year was going to be all these bands that already had kind of played Metro and whatnot. But so I called Steve up and I said, hey, so I have this idea. I want to do this show called Songs from Racine. And Steve was cool with it. And I literally called every single band on the CD to make sure that they were cool with what I was going to do, because it wasn't my idea. So taking it to be mine and our bands, like to make that Lucky Boys Confusions. And I say mine because I want to take not credit, but like I wanted to take the blame for it. If anybody was like, well, what the fuck, man? Like, and so I was like, okay, well, why don't, and everybody was like, cool. And that was the only show, by the way, that had 7 bands the first night, the first 2 nights. So what we did was, before I get into that, so I remember being like, hey guys, I need to talk to you guys. And it was one of those meetings that I was like, I rarely ever did this, would have a meeting without crew. I was like, I need to talk to you guys. So we went to the back lounge, we talked. I'd already talked to Adam about it ahead of time. It just happened to be that he was right there when I was thinking about it. And he was cool with it. So, and we talked about it and we did it. And so that we started the show. We started that first time, and you know, LBC was at the height of our success. We were doing real well, and we had you guys come on. What I wanted to talk to Adam about and have him kind of tell a few stories about that is that, and then moving forward from there, because that first show was really the one that I kind of like championed. After that, it was a very collaborative effort. Jason and Joe from Lucky Boys Confusion weren't that involved in it. Ryan got involved a little bit, but after that, it became Adam, who do we want to do this year? And I want to talk about that, because the cool thing that LBC did after this, and one thing I'm very proud of in my career, is that we, instead of bringing in, and maybe it was a mistake, but I don't regret it, but instead of bringing in bands that were doing well across the country, and you know, like being like, hey, we'll give you a sold out show, give us a leg of your tour, we said, no, you know what, we're gonna do this the way we want to do it and support local music. So I want to give you the floor here, Adam, because it was a big part of you were a big proponent of this too. And I'm gonna give you the floor here for a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, it started off as playing with a bunch of friends. I remember even prior to this, you know, there was this sort of Downers Grove thing going on with Farm Boy, which is Stubby's band, and Stubby's brother's band, Swizzle Tree, who I just always remember being a band. I think they've been around forever. And it was a different scene than where I come from. There was a lot of competition at first. It was like a real battle of the bands type thing, right? Where like they would like throw darts at the other band's flyers and like, you know, put the person's name on their snare drum and see how hard they could hit the drum. And when we started playing shows as Lucky Boys Confusion with Swizzle Tree, the first time was at Riley's that we played together, and I said, all right, everybody, stick around because this Swizzle Tree's coming up next. And after the set, Steve, you said, hey, that was really cool that you said that. I said what? He goes, you told people to stick around. It's like, well, yeah, that's what we got to support the other bands. Oh yeah, we don't have to be fighting. We can be, we can support each other. And the whole idea of all these bands supporting each other, it kind of stemmed to like a punk rock neighborhood kind of idea where you have each other's back. And when you guys put the comp together, that was, it kind of came to life. And so over the years, like the first show, it was all a bunch of friends playing together. And then over the years, we took the opportunity to give smaller local bands the chance to play at the Metro, and, get out there. But it also over the years, those members of the original bands were forming new bands. And, we were giving those new bands a chance to say, this is what we've been up to and check us out kind of thing. It was both an opportunity to get younger local bands a chance to play, and it was also an opportunity to hang out with our friends who had formed new groups.
Yeah, man. I mean, that brings me back to something that I used to always say whenever I hung out with, local music guys. It was that it was like the reason why I wanted to be in a band is because I wanted to be in a band, not a gang. It wasn't like, the thing I said is like, you can be a fan of us and them at the same time, and it's pretty awesome. So that was always something that I loved that we used to do. Thanks, Adam. That was like, so Stubby, I wanted to get into one thing though.
I think your Uber Eats is here, dude.
Why is my Uber Eats here? You're very hungry. Good joke, Tom.
Thank you.
Writing. But anyway, I just wanted to step outside for a second. Is that all right? It's a beautiful day. So that being said, I wanted to kind of lump into this one thing. The one thing that Adam and I talked about in the bus when we first started doing this is like, I'm like, let's make sure that we only have a band could only play once, no matter what we do. Yeah, doggy. But like we only will let bands play once. So Play My Teeth played once, Swizzle Tree played once, but there was one person that ended up playing Songs from a Scene many times, and that I broke the rule for. Pat, would you like to talk today?
That would be me. And I'll also note that the first Songs from a Scene, you guys did technically headline, but you only played 2 songs, right?
What's that?
Correct.
Sorry. The first Songs from a Scene show that wasn't the one that we were doing. Your Songs from a Scene show was not.
That's the anniversary of next year, May 28th. So, but then I've played in Songs from a Scene and Close Enough. Another band that I won't say because Tom doesn't like them, and then The Waiting Game.
Yeah. But didn't The Waiting Game play twice?
I don't think so.
One Life.
Yeah, One Life.
Yeah.
All the bands played twice because we had the same bands. We tried to replicate the non-number one songs in the world bands and everybody else bands to play the last Songs from a Scene. So we had and everybody else. We had everybody but the T's.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, I couldn't afford you, man. Sorry. But getting back to
You
it,
should try again. We're much more reasonable now these days.
Yeah, are you? All right, sounds good. So Sean, I mean, so we did this for 10 years at different venues, but mostly at Metro. I think we did one night, once at House of Blues and once at Double Door. Do I have that right, Adam?
Yeah, there was a couple House of Blueses in over the years. But it was always 2 nights in a row, somewhere around, you know, between Christmas and New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it was always, if I'm not mistaken, the last one was at House of Blues, wasn't it?
Last one was at Double Door.
Was it at Double Door? Okay.
Yeah, and that's the only time that we played New Year's Eve show, right, Adam?
Well, not the only New Year's Eve show, but the only time that Songs from a Scene was part of a New Year's show.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there was Double Door. I can't remember at one point if it was still called Songs from a Scene, but it kind of felt the same way, I guess, because it was 2 nights in a row at the end of the year, you know.
Oh, okay. I have it confused a little bit. That's why you're here, to correct my memory.
I mean, I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. One thing I did want to talk about though here was that I want to talk about some of the bands that played. What bands stick out to you guys from the Songs from a Scene moments? Sean, Adam, Tom, Steve, Pat. After the initial one that you guys were on, any bands that really stuck out to you guys? There was a lot. I mean, there's so that would be 27 other bands minus repeats and changes of bands and stuff like that. Anything that really stuck out to you guys?
There was Logan Square.
Inept, I think, did one of them, right? Like a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one.
It's hard to remember which bands opened up for you guys versus like the Songs from the Scene shows. If you know.
Sure. It was Drawing a Blank played, who we were friends with. We
Starter
had,
Kit.
What's up?
Oh,
Starter
Starter
Kit.
Kit, yeah.
I don't know who was talking just now.
No,
Starter
I
Kit.
said Starter Kit, and I just remembered about that band. Yeah.
Yeah, Starter Kit.
So many bands that I couldn't list them all at this point. You know, my memory is as shot as anyone.
Knockout played one year. We had Much the Same, I believe, played one year. Who?
Split Habit was one.
Yep.
There's a lot of them. I can't remember everybody right now.
Yeah, me either. There's so many. I mean, it was 6 bands a year, and hopefully we were able to give back a little bit, and hopefully help launch a few more, at least Chicago careers in this, and whatnot. We had always had support from Local 101 and James in doing this. Anything else anybody wants to add?
Thanks, James, for having us all on here and for supporting the local scene all these years.
Absolutely.
You can't see James, but he's in the shadows hosting their behind the screen.
Absolutely.
I would say, thanks. I know you guys, Stubby, sometimes you're modest and sometimes you aren't, let's just say.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
But I will,
kind of an ugly way. Yeah.
No, I will endlessly give you and Adam especially props for you guys were just always so smart with like this whole Songs from a Scene. I know maybe it wasn't your idea initially, but just getting the bands together. You guys were always so good at that. And I know that, I've given you props before, but we definitely, the Tees wouldn't have got to that level locally without you guys for sure. And I'm sure all the other guys on here can probably say the same. Like, you guys really were kind of our like big brothers. Like, you guys did everything right so that we knew what to do to kind of follow in your footsteps. So thanks for like always like being supportive of the Tees and all of the scene and everything.
You're welcome, man. You guys are awesome. I remember always saying like we had such a great scene, and I know that like the northern suburb scene blew up with Fall Out Boy and everything else, and that was great too. But we did really have a wonderful scene here, and we had successes from here like you guys, and Brian from Made in Hollywood has produced tons and tons of great music. just a lot of other people that played Retro Morning. Dan Dzinski ended up producing a lot of really amazing music, and ended up in This Is Me Smiling. There's just tons of success stories that came out of that Chicago scene. I do want to say one more time, if you have questions, please let us know, and we'll see those questions, and we'll be love to answer. I want to open this up, and we can just kind of talk a little bit. Let's just chat for a minute, and then let give people a chance to talk, to ask us a few questions, and then we can call it. But I did want to bring up one thing. Last time I was on with James, he's like, hey, just putting me on the spot. He's like, so do you and Adam actually like each other? And I thought that was really funny, because James knows, but he knows that that like people love drama and like to think that we don't really get along. But it's funny. Yes, everybody in LBC does get along fantastically still. And so does everybody from this scene. The other day, I just happened to be on the Facebook Messenger, and Eric Varel from Backdrop jumped in, and we talked for like, 30 minutes just about the scene and how it's going, and like what it was like back in the day. And it's cool that we all still kind of talk and whatnot.
His name's Godfather.
Yeah. He's awesome. And then Sean was at our show at mine and Pat's new band, the Hoodie Life, at our show at Shuba's. It's like we're always at each other's shows. We're always supporting each other with whatever we're doing. And it's what I wanted to talk about here was Pat and I have been talking about doing a next year for the 20-year anniversary of Sounds from the Scene to do a homecoming event. And Sean, we'll talk to you about it, since you are, you started off this whole thing. It's like, but we wanted to do a homecoming event where, people treat it like homecoming, and we're all getting together, and we might even set it up as like tables and whatnot, and bands go up and play. But it is a formal event, and not formal as much as like semi-formal, kind of that thing, and doing something and inviting every band that played and a guest to come in and join, and we'll get up on stage. The bands that are there get up on stage, have a house gear up there, and get up, and everybody comes up and plays a couple songs and whatnot. So it's just something that we're talking about. It was actually Pat's idea, so I don't want to. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, we still got to talk to Steve too.
Well, yeah,
Do it.
I've talked to Steve about it a little bit. So. But yeah, we're talking about that next year.
Awesome.
Only if Tom will come. But whatever. Yeah.
Dude, I'll be your date. I'll be your homecoming date.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're the prettiest girl I know. But I mean, like, but yeah, I don't think we're gonna get many questions here. But
I got a question.
All right.
So I don't know if anyone's like doesn't know what we're talking about. Maybe they got to the party late. The Songs from the Scene, which it's kind of confusing. It was a series of shows we did for years, which, by the way, most of them were all sold out. So thank you. But it started with the compilation CD of all these bands that mostly people are from that are here. Can we? This is for a question for Pat or for Swizzle Steve. Can people get this compilation CD, or like, is there a playlist somewhere where they can hear these songs?
Man, I don't think there would be anywhere to get it, because I don't think it's anywhere digitally. It was just the hard copies we originally pressed. So
maybe we need to put it up somewhere so people can.
Yeah, we could probably get it onto Spotify and everything for the homecoming, possibly.
Yeah, that'd be great for next year. We
re-release of the original, if that's possible.
Or we can put it out as a vinyl.
And whoever doesn't come and play the show gets nixed from the CD.
What'd you say, Sean?
Whoever doesn't play the new show next year gets cut from the CD.
Yeah, Yeah, man. I think that's a great idea. Press a small limited vinyl collector's edition kind of thing, and try to get everybody involved to that homecoming show. I think that'd be a cool thing to do, and like maybe even film it to like kind of commemorate the everybody getting together after 20 years. But yeah, I'm with Adam on that. Like, let's get this music out to people. There's some really good songs on there. So
well, like we said earlier, one of the things was enlisting Rax tracks to make it all sound cohesive, and then all the bands had to agree that these would be 2 good songs. We begged bands not to give any shitty songs, and every band did. And these are like, they're all gems. And
somehow close enough. Somehow close enough. Still got on there.
I was waiting for Tom to brag on Pat, but if we actually had songs on there, I'm sure he'd be ragging on me too. I'm sure he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I like the song. That sounds like Stubhy wrote that one." So yeah,
Wait,
I like the one that yeah.
Hey, I love Lucky Boy's Confusion forever, man. Come on, you know that.
You don't have to play those waiting games, man. That's fine.
That's true though. Like a lot of those compilation CDs that from the late 90s, early, all through that period of time, people were giving their throwaway tracks. Like I got something I can put together for your comp. Here you go. But this was a pretty decent track list all the way through.
Yeah, besides Close Enough, yeah.
I mean, was there a different song that Plain White T's had on there too? I only listened to one, so.
What was the other one?
I don't remember. I just remember my phone ringing like unnecessarily for like 5 minutes before the song started.
What's it called?
Well, we had Move On, and then of course Cell Phone Number.
I wonder how many people skipped to the next track after the phone rang for the like 5th time.
I don't know, Stubby. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm just saying, they missed out on the best bridge you've ever written. So I mean, I don't know. But yeah, no. It was good. Everybody, anybody that's listening, we're all friends here. We're just messing around. But yeah, it was that I remember getting the compilation, the CD, and listening to it so much. The backdrop songs are so good too. And what were the Penny and the Loafers guys? That was the last time. I think that was the last time that they were actually a ska band, and then they changed to the like more of a punk approach. So that was like the last time that they. I think that was one of the last times they released anything with like horns. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't have that much more to say about Songs from a Scene. It's just a great event. I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad that we're going to do something next year. Whatever we end up doing is going to be fantastic.
Retro Morning was on that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I talked about Dan.
Dan went on to be This Is Me Smiling, right? And then now he's making records in Texas.
Yeah, I did bring that up a little bit earlier, but yeah, he's producing records and he's got that he's making new music with I think, correct me if I'm wrong, his wife or his significant other, and him are in a new band, and they I think they just got to sign to Sub Pop from what I remember. I could be wrong, but I know that he got signed to something and they're putting some music out. And I know that
Retro Morning, I've got my radio on, yeah.
That's such a good song.
My radio.
I remember being at Metro, going to see them, and of course I was hanging out with Sean at the bar, and going, they're not going to play the song, and I talked to Dan after, and this is such a Dan thing. I go, you didn't play radio on? He goes, yeah, that's old. I go, yeah, but that song is so good. He's like, and I remember him going like, oh,
it's crazy.
And that's been him his whole career, man. He's just like, whatever. Like even for the This Is Me Smiling record, the best 2 songs were like like 10 songs deep into the record. Like he just didn't care. He just wanted to do what he did, and I love him for it. It's awesome. You know, like with the five of us that are here that are pop songwriters, we're like, you know, like we're like write hooks and whatever. And he's like, I'm just writing music, man. You know, like he doesn't care. It was awesome. I love that about him. But yeah, all kidding aside, man, I love Cell Phone Number. I thought it could have been a hit, minus the cell phone ringing. But like, you know, it was a great song. So I loved it, Tom.
Thanks, dude.
And we had what did we have from? We had beautiful. Wait, what do we have from close? From
you want me to run through the track listing really quick?
Yeah,
That would be great, actually.
That'd be amazing.
All right, we got Far From Here, The Dog and Everything, Honor Roll, Penny and the Loafers, Ever Been Told, Swizzle Tree, Never Forget, Close Enough, Cell Phone Number, Plain White Tees, Audio Isolation, Backdrop, Rotation, Retro Morning, Little One, The Dog and Everything. So now here's where we went back and gave everyone the second track. Little One, Dog and Everything, Victoria, Penny and the Loafers, Frost, Swizzle Tree, Beautiful Day, Close Enough, Move On, Plain White Tees, Paris, Backdrop, Getting Weak, Retro Morning, bonus track, One to the Right, live at Metro, Lucky Boys, Confusion.
acoustic.
Acoustic.
So Backdrop being after the Plain White Tees Cell Phone Number got a lot of listens, according to my theory.
Skip.
That's awesome. That I mean, seriously, man, like thinking back to it, like that was 19 years ago, and what great music, and you know, like we're still talking about it, and people are actually tuning in to hear us talk about it. It's cool. I mean, it's
I forgot that
have to talk
Victoria, that's like my favorite Penny and the Loafer song. I forgot that was on there. That's awesome.
Such a good
Oh
song.
yeah. And we talk about this, and it's like we talk about like I get it, like there's been the Smashing Pumpkins and the Fall Out Boys and the Kanye West and whatever of the world that have done a lot of amazing things from Chicago. The band Chicago Sticks. I mean, we can go on about what great music has come out of Chicago, but we like it was really cool what we did here with the city. Like it was a true, like, I honestly wanted to help other bands because it was so hard for suburban bands to break into Chicago. That was the biggest thing, is give us a chance. Just because we're from the suburbs doesn't mean that we don't know how to play music. Like, don't block us from playing city shows because we're not from the city. And the funny thing about it was that it felt like that. It felt like that coming in. Like, we felt like, oh, another suburban band. Okay, whatever, you know. And there was a few bands like Smoking Popes, but Smoking Popes broke through because Joe Shanahan from the Metro took him under their wings. So like everybody's like, well, what about them? What about them? I'm like, I will give you 100% of the reason why those bands from the suburbs worked. But just random bands from the suburbs that were doing stuff. I remember even talking to James and talking to Sean and back in the day, and I'm not putting you on the whatever, but like it was hard to be like, hey, we're doing something here, and you're like, well, you're playing Raleigh's Rock House, who cares, you know, kind of thing. And like, or like, yeah, you're number one on WONC, but who cares? And it's like, well, you do realize that the people that are coming to your shows in the city are from the suburbs. You know, like a lot of them are. The people that are in the city are going to Martyrs, you know, like, or going to whatever. They're too cool to come, like, not really. I'm kind of exaggerating here a little bit, but it was very cool to actually get that chance. And again, like, Sean's playing down his role in this, but like, Sean is the reason why we got a chance, is because he's like, well, all right, I remember when we did the Simple Simon show, it was, prove to me that this is going to work and I'll give you a shot. Boom. You know, we just needed to get through and we got a shot, and That's it. I love what Adam's doing over here.
Well, you know, you guys proved though, like you created a scene. You really did. And I know that, like, not to sound cliche or a pun or anything, but it really became a scene. One thing that I can point out, every single show, like again, going back to all those bands, all played more shows after that, all headlined. And anytime any of the bands that were on that CD or any of the other shows, I could probably remember on every single one of the shows, every one of you guys would have been at those shows.
Absolutely.
You know, everybody was, it was, you knew you were going to see, like when we had these bands, like I knew I would see you guys. I knew I'd see Steve and Pat and Tom and, you know, and you and Adam and everybody, like everybody came out and everybody supported. And, you know, I don't think there was ever a show that didn't do well, because one, the bands were good and it was just about the exposure and it worked. And it created
about it though, Sean? Sorry, I didn't do the thing. Okay. The other thing about it, Sean, was that but the one of the main differences was that you didn't have a barrier. So we became friends. I would think that you felt, I mean, it's not like we were having, well, you and I did, but like having dinner together, you're whatever, but like when your relationship with Steve and Tom and Pat was also a relationship where I'd be like, oh, just call Sean. And Pat, I remember one time, because Pat with his attitude was like, I know Sean. I talk to Sean all the time. I'm like, all right, man. Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
Well, I used to talk to Tom all the time too. I remember our conversations where Tom's like, what do we got to do? You know, when we were going from like comps and paid to full paid. And we'd sit on the phone for an hour at a time. I think it felt like it was.
So, So my point there is that you actually were like spending time with us, building our careers, helping us get to that next level, when I used to come home from tours, like especially in the early days with Lucky Boys Confusion touring, we were on the road so much that, you know, I remember just being home for like 5 days. So like if I'm home for 5 days, I just pretty much stayed in the city with my friends. And I always tried to meet with you, no matter if I had a show or not going on. And you always met with me. You always penciled me in for a quick lunch or a quick drink or whatever. And that was like, other people were not doing that, man. So stop being modest and like whatever. Nobody else did that for me. Like nobody else did that for Tom. Nobody else did that for Pat. Nobody else did that for Steve. You were one of the main reasons why at least the Western Chicago music scene blew up the way it did. And Tom right now is doing what he's doing. And you know, and LBC is still playing shows and selling shows out. It does have to do with you, man. So, and James, and whatnot. Yeah. So I think we're done. We're not getting many questions. So I think we've said everything we had to say. Thank you guys so much. This means so much to me that you guys on a day's notice showed up here and wanted to talk about this really amazing thing that happened that started 20 years ago, ended 10 years ago, and we'll have a homecoming next year. So
right on.
You know, being the promoter that I am, I kind of brought that in there.
It's already confirmed. Tickets are on sale next week, man.
Yeah. No. We don't know. We're gonna work with you, Sean, on what we're gonna do. But yeah,
it's gonna be at Tom's house.
Which one? I mean, he has got like 7, doesn't he?
Well, yeah.
Well, 6, 8, 9. I don't know. What I was gonna say is like, so the first time you saw that guy with the blonde streak, was that when you first came up with the idea for Delilah?
Yeah, it was like, oh my god,
I love him.
It was from.
Hey, there's Delilah.
I've got much masala to Delilah. It was like the connection.
Nobody knows my song, bro.
Yeah.
Let's talk about yours.
I do, baby. I do.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, guys. So thanks again. Thanks again for James from Dallasdale for thinking that I could actually run this. And thank you. You know, I hope I didn't fuck it up too much. Sean McDonough, Sean, would you like to talk a little bit about what you're doing now and the
No, just real quick. I'm most recent up at Summerfest now, but I am on old furlough right now as Summerfest was canceled for this year until 2021.
Sure.
So I've got some free time on my hands. So you know, figure things out and but yeah, plan to go back to that after this is all hopefully better and go from there. So maybe we you know, that's where I'm at right now.
And Steve, you're doing Swizzle Street promotions. What do you got going on? Same thing. I know you're in coronavirus too, but
Like Sean just said, yeah, when it gets going again, I'll be doing Swizzle Steve Presents and Brower House Lombard. And one more shout out from the Monster Disc crew. That was where I was working when we put this out. That was another thing that made it all come together. And a shout out to anyone in the chat or on here that partied at the apartment I had right by Metro.
all right. And then I want to ask Tom, what have you been up to lately?
You know, I mean, seriously, I'm just still writing music and doing the Plain White Tees and putting out other music, working with other local artists like Fairview. I've got a little side project called TLB that, by the way, Lucky Boys Confusion gave us our first show. So in true Lucky Boys fashion, always helping us out, helping the scene. And a side project called Million Miler, which is like 80s synth pop. So I'm just trying to put out a ton of music.
Wait, what?
Well, you don't know about Million Miler?
I didn't either.
Oh,
why am I not rapping
yeah.
on your shit?
Dude, no shit. Well, because I got Adam to do it, actually.
Oh, that's right. You like Adam better, and then I got it.
No, but just
Sorry.
trying to put out.
Honestly, I would rather have Adam rapping than me anyway. So
Yeah, right. By the way, I got a shout out to LBC. I got the fucking Growing Out of It vinyl, and I've been rocking it, dude. Unbelievable. Like, what an album. Like, you guys started, the whole scene started with Lucky Boys Confusion. So I know I said that before, but I can't give you guys enough props, enough love.
Well,
Thank you. I don't think
Mostly,
that's true, but
mostly Adam. It all started with Adam. And then
well, yeah, Adam
Jenny.
Adam did everything. I wasn't even there.
No way, dude. Dude, you were the you were man, like those days, and you guys are still fucking one of my favorite bands, of course. But those days when we first started seeing you guys were literally, in my opinion, one of the fucking best bands in the world. And still are, of course, but like it was such a going back to the whole songs from a scene shit, like that was a moment that was very important, and you guys were the epicenter. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah,
well put.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, wow. I mean, like you know how I'm gonna respond to that, so whatever.
I have a closing story.
I don't know. I like it's never easy to hear, but anyway, Pat, you've been producing some music on your. Go ahead. You're saying what you've been up to, and then we'll move on.
I have a closing story for Songs from the Scene.
Okay, hold on. Then I'll move to Adam next. Adam, you are if you want to talk about because I'll let you close out Adam. Sorry, I'll let you close out Pat then. Adam, you have been I know you're producing records in so if you want to say anything about that.
yeah, I mean, I'm here at Sound Summit Studios. We were closed down for a little bit, but we've been, luckily we were in the stages of mixing and post-production on those projects at that point. And now we're starting to get some things going again. I think Kevin Purple's next record, we're going to do the pre-production real soon. But yeah, kind of staying busy. Can you
say the name of the studio and the website or any like contact stuff real quick?
Sound Summit, check it out. soundsummitstudios.com, I believe is the site.
Cool.
And it's it's also a rehearsal space. I mean, it's a multifunctional place. We've got a venue. Obviously, we're not using that right now, but there's a record store that just moved in there. So it's all kind of in one chunk. I just want to say it was nice to hear from everybody and see everybody. Thanks for having me on here. And thanks to James for hosting, behind the scenes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Pat, you want to close up? You want to close the night out?
Well, just want to say I've been writing a bunch of library music, working on the Hoodie Life stuff, and then I'll say my final songs from a scene story. The first show, we were outside of Steve's apartment, the famous apartment behind McDonald's, which is no more. It's like 3 a.m. and this neighbor is yelling, "I have to work in the morning." So Steve goes, "Announcement! If you have to work in the morning, go home." One of the funniest moments of my life.
Oh, that's pretty fucking awesome. Awesome, Steve. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining, especially on a day's notice. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it. James, thanks for trusting me to host this shit. And you guys were really great. I really appreciate the stories. I hope everybody appreciates these stories. And it was awesome. And I can't wait for next year. And I can't wait for Homecoming. Songs from a Scene Homecoming, probably at the end of the year, but we'll figure out when it's going to be. And I'm looking forward to playing shows again in 2021 and all that stuff. So thanks again, everybody. Again, Sean, we got Sean McDonough, Sean, who's going to be helping with booking Summerfest, and Steve, who's does Swizzle Tree Productions. Pat Gilroy, who's working on his own music and in Hoodie Life with me. Tom Higgenson from the Plain White Tees and hip hop projects that he didn't tell me about because he doesn't love me. And Fairview that he is working on. And then Adam Krier from Lucky Boys Confusion and AM Taxi. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, James Van Azel. Thank you, Carcon Carne. Hell yeah, guys. This is great. I can't say enough. Thank you so much. I love you guys all. Take care.
Love you, dude.
Thank you. Good night.